and welcome to the first session of our Dossier Writing 101 workshop series. My name is Elizabeth Ratliff, and I am a faculty member at Windward Community College and a member of the UHCC Professional Development Consortium. And I'm pleased to introduce today's session, How to Create a Teaching Philosophy, which will be presented by Susan Inoyue. And Susan, I am told, has been teaching linguistics and freshman composition at Kapiʻolani Community College for 30 years or thereabouts, and has been involved in professional development on her campus for about 15 years. And let me guess, WHOA got you involved. Anyway, she's been a member of the traveling mock PPRC troupe and mentors faculty as an unofficial dossier coach on her campus. And for the last several years, she's been a guest presenter on how to develop and write about professional philosophy in dossiers, which will be the focus of today's session. So we are so grateful to Susan for taking the time to share her experience and insights with us, all of us. For as you all know, creating your dossier is really an art more than a science. The whole review process is subjective and one that entails general guidelines that are both formal and informal for you to consider when you're developing your own document. Furthermore, we all know that each of the campuses differs slightly in the interpretation of those guidelines and best practices. So our hope is that you will use these sessions as a means to inspire your approach to developing your own dossier. But there's always a caveat, and what we want to remind you is that we also strongly encourage you to speak with peers in your division and discipline on your own campus. And of course, on others as well. Because obviously the more information you have, the stronger your document will be. With that said, I will stop sharing and we'll get on with our session. Susan.
Okay, I'm ready. So hi everybody. I don't know, there are so many of you. I've been teaching online for a while, but I've never had a class this big. So we'll just see how the breakout rooms work and such. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen, and hopefully I don't screw that up too, because you know, that happens sometimes. So I'm starting just with my title screen, which should be coming up. I hope you can see it. So I've titled this How to Discover and Articulate Your Professional Philosophy because I'm not assuming that I'm helping you create your philosophy. I'm assuming that you come to this workshop as a professional educator and you already have a philosophy, but maybe you haven't figured out how to articulate it yet. So that's kind of where we're starting from. So whoops, sorry. There we go. So my basic approach is to, I'm approaching this as one of my alter egos is as a writing teacher, and you're going to be doing a bit of free writing with me prompting you with some questions. And we will structure it around these three basic ideas: why you do what you do as a professional educator, what you do, and how you do it. So just to prime you with that. But I'd like to also acknowledge that I keep saying professional educator, not teacher, because I know that this complex job that we have involves a lot of different job functions, and we all are in the education business, but we don't all teach. So I wanted to start with, sorry, there we go, a little survey to find out who you are. Meaning like, what do you do? What's your job function? So there's a little survey here. If you could open another window or use your phone. And if you use your phone, you can scan this QR code and it'll open a little Menti poll. And you can take a look at this little poll that will have you identify your job function. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment so that I can go to my Menti poll screen and find it, open it up so that you guys can see your results. While I'm off sharing, I can ask if there are any questions, any difficulty finding the poll.
You stopped sharing before I could get my QR thing.
Oh, so sorry. Okay, let me go back. There we go. Sorry, I will go back. I needed to get my poll open too. So yeah, hold on a sec. Sorry about that. I haven't figured out that the whole timing thing between there's the QR code. You should be able to see, you can either enter the code manually when you go into menti.com, excuse me, or you can scan the QR code. Okay, let's take a few minutes to.
It was saying code not found when I punched in the
Oh dear.
10352036.
Really? Okay. Well,
I don't know if that happened for everyone.
A lot of people, are you able to see the word cloud right now that I'm sharing? Are you folks able to see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like a bunch of people are able to get in there. So maybe it was the QR code that worked, and maybe the other code did not work. I'm not sure. Let's see. 3072. Oh, I see. Okay. I think I have an old code in there. It is 30724926. I'm sorry about that code error. So if you can use a QR code with your phone, it'll be faster, or you can type in the code 30724926. Maybe if one of my co-facilitators could type that into the chat, we can give people access, those who don't have the ability to do the QR code.
Once we get it, I'm sorry to interrupt. Once we get in, it says sign up or open Q&A. Do we open Q&A?
I thought it would just take you directly to the poll. Which way did you go in? Through QR code or through the
Through the code. Through the code.
Okay, I think the QR code seems to be working better than the code, and I'm not sure why. So are you able to do the QR code?
Bear with me here.
Or maybe you can just tell me what your answer is and I can add it to our conversation. I'm watching the word cloud. Are you guys able to see the word cloud?
Yes.
Okay. Basically, I don't know if I'm going to have time to let all 70 of you or so actually enter your answer, but I'm getting the gist of it is that a large majority of you are instructors, and then you're falling into a lot of different categories like counselor, librarian, faculty. Those are kind of the next in line. And then people are choosing more specific labels for what they do, like their disciplines and other types of student support. I'm really psyched actually to see such a great variety, because the way I have designed this little workshop is to try to encompass all of those job categories so that you won't feel, I don't think you'll feel left out if you won't think we're only talking about teaching or only talking about counseling, for instance. If you don't mind, I'm going to move on. I think I have the data I need to figure out, let's see, to figure out who we have in the group with us. So I'm going to go back to present mode. Okay, so I'd like you to get yourself ready to start writing, because in a slide or two, I'm going to ask you to answer or respond to some prompts. But while you're getting that ready, I do want to just start with this quote from a source. I know 1990 is a long time ago, and it's a source from a long time ago, but I think that this idea of making some kind of dent in the universe, which was originally a quote from Steve Jobs, is being used here in this source, talking about what does it mean to teach or counsel or support students in other ways. It's about making some kind of dent in the world so that the world is different than it was before you practiced your craft. In other words, what effect am I having on students and their learning experience? So that is where we're starting from, is to think about what is your purpose when you go to your job in the morning, whether it's like me walking downstairs to my in-home office or whether you're going physically into campus. So we're going to try to get to this with a few prompt questions. So open a notebook or a Word doc or a Google Doc. And if you clicked on the Google Doc link that you got in the reminder for this Zoom meeting, there was a link to this Google Doc, which is a worksheet that I hope will help you start to structure some of your ideas. But if you can't open that Google Doc, just write on a yellow pad with #1 pencil if that's what makes you happy. So if you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start us with the first prompt, which is, what's your origin story? So pardon the Marvel Universe reference there. So what's your origin story? And I have a few questions here that I want you to think about and free write about. There's no way you're going to be able to answer all of them in 5 minutes. But if you choose one that pops out to you, and you can start writing, and then you can go back and write about the others sometime later after we've finished our session. So starting with maybe, did you have an inspiring experience with your discipline or as a student yourself? Is that part of your origin story? And did you have a frustrating experience instead with your discipline or as a student? Or did you have a mentor, a colleague that influenced your path as an educator? Or did you receive feedback from students or colleagues that has shaped your philosophy? So what I'm going to do is actually start the timer. I'm going to start a timer for 5 minutes and let you begin writing. So really quickly, to define free writing is just to say you just start writing whatever is in your head. Don't worry about grammar. I'm not collecting it. I'm not grading you. You're not going to have to show it to anyone. It is really just a place to start recording some thoughts. You don't even have to write in complete sentences or paragraphs. It could be just lists if you want. So I'm going to start the timer and I'm going to have you start writing for 5 minutes. Ready, go. You're at the halfway point. That's 2.5 minutes to go. Thirty seconds left. Okay, don't worry if you feel like you didn't finish what you wanted to say. I actually, in grad school, I had a professor who was very prolific in publishing and writing books and things, and his advice was always to end what you're writing in the middle of a sentence so that when you sit down to it next time, you can start right up, continue the thought. So I've used that advice and it seems to work. So, okay, so next we're going to go to breakout rooms, and my co-facilitators have designed this so that there's going to be somewhere between 3 and 5 people in a breakout room. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work, but you're going to be put randomly into breakout rooms, and I want you to share what you discovered in this writing process. Whether you either, maybe it was one of the questions you wrote about, or even about one of the questions you didn't have time to write about, please share with the people in your breakout rooms. So join your breakout room now, please. Oops, I'm being asked to end on time. I'm not going to have us discuss your breakout room every time. I'm going to wait till the end and have us have one big discussion at the end. So save your thoughts and things that you'd like to share toward the end. I'm going to go back and share screen and keep us moving. So we're going to do a little more writing again. Okay, so that was your breakout room. So let's approach another way of looking at this, another why you do what you do. Who are your students? I hope you like that image. It's adorable, isn't it? So here are the prompt questions. You're going to do the free writing again, and then you're going to break into your breakout rooms again. So who are your students? And how does this impact your professional philosophy? How do they learn, or what do they need? What preconceptions do they bring to your discipline or to community college in general? So as before, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to write. And you probably won't be able to cover all 3 questions in one writing session, but you can go back to the ones that pique your interest. To start with one and begin writing. I'm going to start the timer right now. Great. Okay, great. So I hope that, that you had lots to talk about. We're going to go through this cycle one more time. So here is the next set of questions. They have to do with what is your on-the-ground strategy, talking about the practical aspects of how you implement your philosophy. So here are the prompt questions. I hope you're appreciating these images. I had fun putting them together. So this is more practical, looking at trying to connect your actual what you do on the daily for implementing your philosophy. So how do you apply this philosophy? What's the evidence? Meaning, like, what are you doing, and what are your artifacts? Artifacts, I don't mean like.
Susan, I'm sorry. Are you going to share your screen?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I had. I'm sorry. Thank you for the feedback. Yeah. There we go. All right. I'm going to back up a little bit. So sorry. I'm out of practice. It's summer. So no one was appreciating my lovely images. There. I expect a little laughter. There we go.
We
Okay.
had good memories.
Okay, so this is about your on-the-ground strategy, and this is how you apply your philosophy. What's the evidence that that's how you do it? Excuse me. What are your artifacts? So not like, skeletal remains found in Africa, not that kind of artifacts. Artifacts like, what kind of assignments are you doing if you're in the classroom, or if you're in the counseling arena, what kind of processes are you using to connect with students and things like that, etc. So this free write is going to be, I think I'll let you write a little bit longer, about 7 minutes instead of 5. And I think that for some people, a list might work well here, maybe connecting it to aspects of your philosophy. Other people might like to write in complete sentences, paragraphs, whatever. So go ahead and begin. I'm going to set the timer for 7 minutes. So go ahead and start writing. I know it's hard to stop writing when the timer goes off, but that's a good sign if you have lots to say. We're going to have you go into breakout rooms again, and I'm going to allow you 10 minutes. Which is longer than the last 2 breakout rooms. And that is because not only will you be sharing from this most recent free write, but also you can reach back into make connections with your previous comments from the other breakout sessions. So go ahead and go into your breakout rooms for 10 minutes. As time flies when you're talking about such interesting things with interesting people. We all have sort of the same kinds of goals. I'm hearing themes echoed in the conversations. So that was our 3rd breakout room. And so what I want to do is I'm going to go share screen real quick and go back to the PowerPoint for a few more things. Here we go. So what I want to do is draw your attention to the worksheet that was sent to you via when you were sent the Zoom link. I'm not sure if everyone got it. Hopefully you had it. You don't have to open it now, or maybe some of you used it for taking notes, but this is just a portion of it shown here. In a moment, I'll go and open it, show it to you on the screen. But the worksheet is just one tool that you might use for starting to organize your thoughts. So are there elements of your philosophy that you can break it down into different parts? Maybe it starts with your origin story, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe you don't include your origin story. Maybe it's you start with trying to break down who are your students and what are their needs. And then you start connecting with where you got the inspiration for the way you approach your work. Was it someone that's inspired you? Was it the students that inspired you? Was it the topic itself? Is it that you're so in love with chemistry that you needed to tell the world about chemistry? Or, you know, what is the source of inspiration for those different elements of your philosophy? And then connecting the evidence of your philosophy, like what kinds of scaffolding do you use if you're in the classroom, or what kind of communication style do you use with students if you're a counselor, for instance? What kind of leadership processes do you use in coordinating a program, for instance? And can you make those connections and structure them? So the worksheet is really just a tool. It's not homework. I'm not going to collect them. I just designed it, kind of modeled it off from some worksheets that I use in some of my writing classes, just to help organize ideas. And then you can use it as a starting place for communicating those ideas with each other. So I wanted to take a moment. Let's see, I'm feeling rather proud of myself that I'm not running overtime. I'm running under time for a change. So I wanted to stop sharing and go back to the gallery view for a moment and give you time. I don't know how shy you all are. There are 69 people in the room. That's more than you probably hang out with and have a casual talk with. But if there's anyone who would like to just share any aha moments that you might have had while you were in your breakout room or while you were writing. Is there anyone who had anything that they'd like to share that we might all benefit from? You could even do it in the chat if you'd like.
Aloha, I'm Luana. I apologize, I have my camera off.
No problem.
But I'll share something. One of the things that we were talking about is the type of students. Who are our students, right? In our breakout room. And one of the people in the breakout room, you know, talked about how what we do for our students goes above and beyond our job descriptions. She talked about going to bowling with them and attending different events that her students had to show support, because some of our students are coming to college without that support. They don't have family support. I shared that one of my students was actually kicked out of their home because they chose to come to college. And so just really opening our minds up to what our students are experiencing and what they're going through, and how does that impact, you know, our teaching philosophy. And when we expand our mind that way, I think we can really help our students to be more successful. Thanks.
Thanks for sharing, Luana. And I think in the breakout room that I was in, there were themes of the diversity of our students and what they come to school, like what kind of burdens they're bringing with them. So I think that that's going to be something that people might want to address in their philosophy. Any other aha moments or things that came out as a result of writing or sharing? If you're shy, you can put it in the chat.
Aloha, I'm Pi'ikea. I don't know if there was a really significant aha moment, but I think what I really appreciate about my group is that everybody's really committed to working with their students and working with our students where they're at, you know, with the understanding that students may have real challenges with trying to understand how to navigate a system that feels very foreign to them. And so utilizing a lot of different ways and strategies as educators to help our students be successful and support them. And I think that's something really inspiring when you really consider the gravity of the work that we do and how we're impacting students in really significant ways to live better lives. So for me, that was really inspiring, and hearing the different ways that my group members discuss that was inspiring for me.
I love that you brought that up. I think the fact that we are a UHCC group means that we have that common bond, right? Is that we're all coming to the task and we're committed to community college. We understand its mission, and that is infused in our philosophies. I think that's really evident in everyone that I've talked to so far. So thanks for sharing that. Any other moments that you'd like to share? I see something in the chat. Temperature check can be color-coded index cards or emojis for having students communicate how they're doing. In classroom situations, maybe counseling situations or clinical situations, giving them lots of ways to communicate their state of happiness is great. And that speaks back to how you're all committed at the, at this level, community college. It's a mixed bag, right? We have students coming to us from all walks of life. And I want to go back to the idea, the quote that was at the beginning was you're making a dent in the universe. You're making a dent in these students' lives. You're possibly changing their trajectory. And I hear that in a lot of what you guys are talking about in the breakout rooms. So I'm really inspired by that. I'm getting a little teary. Oh, forgive me. Okay, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint for a moment, and hopefully this QR code works this time. I will try to, hold on, I got to go back to share screen and ask you to ask questions in this QR code or Menti survey. You can just write questions you have for me or any of the co-facilitators. I'm not an expert on everyone's philosophy. You are the expert on your own philosophy. But if you have questions about this process of writing about your philosophy or about anything else to do with the dossier writing series that you are signed up for, you can ask those questions in the Menti survey. So I'm going to leave it on share for a moment so that you can either type in the code or scan the QR code. And I'll give you a few minutes to type in some questions so we can see them. You don't have to identify yourself. It's just anonymous.
The code is incorrect.
Sorry?
The code does not work again.
Really? Huh, okay. Does the QR code work for you?
Probably, I don't, I've never used my phone to do that. So.
If you just go on the camera of your phone and point it at the QR code. No, not that phone.
That's my phone right now.
Oh, okay, never mind. So sorry.
Wise guy.
So that's a lesson for me to walk the walk, is that I need to understand where my students are and what they're bringing to the classroom as tools. And clearly you're not bringing your cell phone. Could you want to ask your question right now, live and in person? Do you have any questions?
What was the prompt for the question?
Just questions about the process or about anything?
No, I've got a pretty good fix on my philosophy.
Great. Lucky you. I'm going to stop sharing so I can go take a quick look at our, let's see, I have to pull up the
Susan.
survey. Yes.
Would anyone like to share their philosophy?
Sure. I would love to hear people's philosophy.
So would I, especially Greg.
If you, well, yeah, you guys can talk while I am trying to get the questions up. Let's see. What is a philosophy compared with learning theories? Examples welcome. So that's one question. Let me go back to this and see if I can share it. And there's some questions in, also questions in the chat. Could one of the co-facilitators help monitor the chat? Oh, I have one question that's direct to me. How is artifact related to philosophy? That may be a question that more than one of you have. So the way I'm using the word artifact is that it is some aspect of your job, your daily job. Like, what do you, like, if I'll use myself an example. So if I'm trying to try to get students to structure their thoughts for a research paper, for instance, my artifact might be the worksheet that I'm using to help them drop their research in and keep track of their citations in a worksheet. So I'm scaffolding that process, and that worksheet would be an artifact. So individual assignments, that I'm talking from an instruction point of view. I know that from a counseling perspective, some counselors keep track of their sessions with their students in some kind of database or some other way of tracking the time spent with students, and that would be another type of artifact. Okay, someone is following up on that question, thinking about inspirational quotes to keep them motivated that week. That's a great idea of things that you do in the classroom that keep the students engaged or motivated. Those are great ideas. Those are all concrete artifacts that I think are really important to share in a dossier so that the readers of the dossier get a sense of who you are on the job. So those are all great ideas. I'm trying to scroll through, let's see, other questions. Okay, I'm not able to make this scroll for some reason. Sorry, I'm new at using Menti, so I'm learning. Okay, I see. If you bear with me for a moment, I am going to share screen and go to the Menti questions. So what is a philosophy compared to learning theories? Does anyone want to try to answer this question? What you think is a philosophy versus a learning theory? I think they overlap in a lot of ways. Any ideas? Lee, are you there? Lee Dooley?
Yes, I'm here.
So your philosophy comes to mind because I've read your dossier, one of them from a long time ago. The constructivist learning theory is one that you use, right?
Yes.
So how do you merge that with your philosophy?
Gosh, you have a better memory than I do. I didn't even remember that I used Vygotsky in my teaching philosophy. It's been a while. The Vygotsky is the person, the psychologist who came up with the idea of constructivism. So I did quote from Vygotsky in my teaching philosophy, although it's not a requirement to quote from learning philosophies in your teaching philosophy. And then I tied it into specific examples of what it is that I do in the classroom that demonstrates that I believe that students come to us not as empty vessels, but as people with complete life experiences that they need to learn how to incorporate new information into their existing experiences, which is, the constructivist theory. Does that answer your question, Susan?
Yes, exactly. And it actually follows up this question that comes next in the Menti slides is it necessary to include a reference section and in-text citations? I personally did, because I was referring to sources about trying to find ways to express my philosophy, but I don't think everyone does. I know I've read a few counseling dossiers where they were referring to various counseling theories. And as a TPRC member, I know that that's very helpful for me when I'm on a committee and I'm reading about a discipline I know nothing about. It helps me get a frame of reference for understanding that person's approach. So I don't think it's necessary, but if you do refer to something, you should include a reference. I would say that's good writing practice. Here's another question. Examples of teaching that we can look at and read from other colleagues. There, on our campus at Kapiʻolani, we have a pool of dossiers that are made available by permission of the faculty member themselves, and that are available for viewing so that people can get a sense of samples. You would have to check with the people that handle such things on your own campuses. I'm not sure how other campuses do that. Co-facilitators, do you know what goes on your campuses?
I believe that UH Online has a whole bunch of dossiers as that one can look at for the online submission. And now that we're all forced to submit online, that's a good resource.
Okay, maybe there are some also campus-specific resources.
Yeah, I do believe our campus has its own resources.
Okay. So this question is similar to the one was asked already. Is there a distinction between philosophy and methodology? I think they inform each other. They overlap. So I think that the suggestion in how you organize your dossier, at least it used to be, was that you have a statement of your philosophy and then you have application of your philosophy, and that's where you can begin to distinguish it. So you have some general way of talking about it, and then you go on and make it specific how you implement the philosophy. So the methodology would be in the application section. I hope that answers that question. This question, I don't know the answer. If we're registered for this workshop, are we automatically registered for the others?
Not really. They needed to press on all of the squares, but if they would like to, I can just send it to everyone who ever signed up. So really, you need to check all the boxes of the ones that you're interested in.
Thank you. Would it be rambling to explain evolution of teaching philosophy? Well, only you can decide if you are rambling, but it's certainly a danger to not go on and on and on and on and on. My rule of thumb is to have a buddy that you're writing dossiers at the same time with, and you read each other, especially philosophy, because it's easy to wax philosophically and keep going when really you can do it in a shorter amount of time. Where you go into more depth maybe is in the application. So I could say that could be a danger, but you have to check yourself a little bit. Okay, is there another slide here? No, okay, this is the last one that's submitted. What's the best way to write the evidence pertaining to my philosophy? Well, as we've been saying, there have been, give examples of what's your strategy for how you implement that philosophy in the classroom or in your other types of practice in library or counseling or other types of support. Are there pieces of evidence that you can include in your appendix and then link directly to them? Or are there excerpts that are appropriate to include in the application of the philosophy section? Are there samples of student writing that show that your or student that students have produced in some way that show this is what my students produce as a result of how I've structured this experience. So those are some ideas. I'm going to go back to stop sharing. Okay, so I would like to just leave a little time for the facilitators to take care of their business. Are there any final questions? I hope that this has been a little bit helpful. Well, I know there are questions in the chat, but I can't get to them myself. But you should read the chat if there's some people answering each other's questions there. Does anyone have any questions for me or any of the other co-facilitators? You're welcome.
I have a question, Sandra.
Yes.
Yeah, so as regards evidence of implementation of my philosophy, can I use a student's email at the end of the semester? Like in that email, the students set forth really what I did in the class, and he was just showing appreciation.
I've done that before. I think I blacked out the student's name and email address when I included it, but I know that in at least one of my dossiers, I dropped an email in right into the body of the dossier.
All right, so I will just kind of like take a picture, just block out the name.
Yes, or crop it so that you can't see the person's name. Maybe you can see the date so they can tell what semester it was, that it wasn't in, 1969 or something. It was recent enough, right?
Thank you.
That's what I did, yeah. Other questions?
I saw a question in the chat related to what you were just talking about.
Oh yeah, I just clicked on that.
Permission for that?
I think if you redact any identifying information, you don't need to.
Thank you.
A suggestion that might help.
Yep.
Hear me? Okay. Yeah, so I'm going for tenure this year, but I submitted for contract renewal recently and used a lot of student emails. And I don't know if everyone's aware, but as faculty and staff of UH, we have access to Adobe Acrobat DC, which allows you to PDF the emails and redact any type of identifying information. And that eliminates the the step of having to get permission from students and still show the evidence that you're doing the work that you're doing. I don't know, hopefully that's helpful. And as far as example dossiers, if anyone submitted electronically this past time, if you have access to the tenure and promotion website, there's actually a list of dossiers that were donated by different disciplines that can be really helpful if you want to look at those.
There's a lot of people asking and answering great questions in the chat. I don't know if any one of the facilitators could grab that chat and just copy paste it into something that people can have in a Google Doc or something so they can look at those questions and answers in the future. I'm sorry, I'm asking the co-facilitators to do something I know how to do, and I don't know if, it's not an elegant solution. You just copy paste the whole.
You should be able to just go to
we have the record, so I'll do that.
Okay, I think there's a lot of great information being shared there. Okay, co-facilitators, it's your turn. You can. You asked me to stop at 4:27.
Okay. I just wanted to express our great appreciation for you, Susan. And so mahalo to you for this very informative session. I'm sure we learned a lot, and I want to thank you all for making time in your schedule to join us today. If you want to check your emails within the last few days, as we will be sending out links to the resources from today's session, as well as an evaluation form for you to complete, because one of our evidence that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing is collecting your feedback on these professional development offerings. So please don't just throw that in the trash. We need that. We need those artifacts. Our next Dossier Writing 101 workshop will be next week on July 14th, and the topic will be creating your electronic dossier. So if you haven't had to deal with the electronic system yet, be sure to attend that one. So once again, mahalo for joining us today, and we'll see you soon. We hope.
Thank you.